Okay, so 83 is something that all of us here are looking forward to because for a lot of us, it is the next step after Rising Storm 2 Vietnam. And no, I'm not saying that 83 is RS3. I promise I will never do that again unless it's announced for real or if Red Orchestra 3 is also announced, which speaking of which, man, we really need to get another one of these. I missed out on the glory days of RO2 and hopefully I can experience it again if RO3 is ever released. But speaking of announcements, apparently there was a NVIDIA leak that has supposedly leaked the release date of 83 in it. Now, depending on where you live in the world, well, it's primarily if you live in America or the rest of the world, it can impact how you view the date. So bear with me, it can either be the 4th of the 7th or the 7th of the 4th, 2022. Now, you people shouldn't look at this as if it's something that's set in stone because for starters, it can just be a placeholder date or a rough estimate. We do know that the game is going to release in 2022, that much we know, but there is glaring problems with this list. For starters, the GTA remasters are supposed to have already been released either in bloody January this year or November this year, but I can't really tell if GTA Remaster early January this year was even too much of a thought, and it got released or announced actually only recently. But you know, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because some people might look at this and actually think it's something that's guaranteed, and you know, like people might go into next year expecting, oh, it's gonna release on this date, and when that date rolls around and you know we've got no news or no updates on it, then I mean people are going to be very, you know, upset or disappointed. So just saying that this isn't something you should look at like it's guaranteed. I mean, it'll be great, but we don't know anything set in stone at the moment. And of course, we do not want them to rush the game and try and meet an unrealistic deadline and we get a half-baked game, which I think we all know what game I'm referring to. Which honestly, I just beat that game, bro. I actually had so much fun playing Cyberpunk. I don't care. I got my money's worth. But moving on to 83, we did have a recent Through the Gun Sights video by AMG on how they are going to be developing their vehicles and the methodical process they take to ensure that the vehicles are properly modeled as accurately as possible into the game. This includes looking at heaps of resources as well as making sure that vehicles that are implemented are accurate to what would have been used in certain conflicts, but also the way they are, you know, modeling vehicles and in the video's case, and bear with me, the UAZ, or UAZ depending on where you live, 469. Now, I believe this is the vehicle, because I know someone in the comments might be like, oh wow, Tantu, you're so stupid, it's clearly a UAZ 468. I don't know how you can get something as simple as that wrong. Please off yourself. Okay, boy, I'm clearly joking, but from the looks of it, they are going to go into the smallest of details when, you know, you can see they pull apart the car, and you can see all the different mechanical components to it, and they make sure that it's all accurate. And you know, honestly, I hope to God that the same methodical process that's being done for a simple utility truck such as this is being applied to tanks, helicopters, and even just every component of the game, including weapons and every aspect to it. But apparently the vehicles that will have interiors are helicopters and cars, trucks, basically general vehicles, but tanks I'm pretty sure will not have modeled interiors. They'll just have the usual sort of see through the slits or see through the scope of view. So unfortunately we won't have the interior quality like in Red Orchestra 2, which was just phenomenal. Like the tanks in Red Orchestra 2 just look absolutely out of this world, but apparently they did take many months to create and model, but I am really looking forward to that. But at this point, we do know that helicopters are going to be implemented into the game, and some of you, right, might be wondering if there will be air-to-air combat, you know, like in Battlefield where, you know, one helicopter has all the upgrades and then they're able to bully the noob with the stock helicopter. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not going to be a thing in this game because they did say that usually only helicopters will be given to one faction per map, which means that the other faction will have to rely on basically anti-air measures to put pressure on the helicopters. And from the looks of it, this might mean man pads, which honestly saying man pad just sounds weird. I'm immature. I just refer to them as shoulder mounted AA. But you know, they've also referenced in other or older Through the Gun Sights videos that there will be commander abilities, and we could hypothesize that there will be some form of AA to put pressure or maybe even counter enemy planes, for instance, that might come in for a strafe run, if that might hypothetically be an ability, because we do see an A-10 flying over, and what is an A-10 used for? But I mean, you do have man-pads, hypothetical anti-air abilities, and you also have the general infantry weapons like in Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, where you can just literally shoot at helicopters. You might get a person or two, you might put pressure on the pilot. However, I'm pretty sure the Mi-24 Hind, which once again I am speaking in hypotheticals, it's literally referred to as a flying tank. So I can't imagine that standard infantry bullets would do too much. Maybe I'm wrong, okay, but I'd assume from the Vietnam era they would have probably reinforced the glass and just overall armor and thickness of helicopters to the point where they could be resistant to little small arms fire. I'm not talking about like a big sniper rifle bullet or a little rocket. I'm talking about to, you know, AKs, M4s, whatnot. But speaking of commander abilities, like I mentioned before, it is confirmed that fixed wing aircraft won't be a flyable thing in the game. Instead, they will be a part of these commander abilities, which in my opinion is a good thing, because for starters, right, the thought of a low-level pilot getting into a plane and bombing friendlies is terrible. Despite me constantly doing it in Rising Storm 2 Vietnam as a commander, which purely accidental, Rice, I think it just don't ban me yet. When I run over a bunch of teammates in 83 with my tank, then you can ban me, mate. But I'm pretty sure the actual reason why they're not going to be implementing planes is a very logical one, but that's because it doesn't seem practical to implement it, because the maps are going to be bigger than RS2s, but they're not going to be ridiculously large, like I'd assume maybe on a squad scale. Still not too confirmed on that aspect, but I know they're not going to be like armor-sized maps. And obviously in armor, you know, you've got plenty of room to fly around and be maneuverable, you know, rotate around, go in for a strafe run, fly around. In 83, I can't imagine the maps would allow that because, you know, planes in the 80s, you know, the F-14, I can imagine must go more than 700 kilometers an hour. I'm just spitballing off the top of my head, and I don't know, I'll put up a conversion unit for Freedom Burger, Moon Landing, Cowboy Gun, Hollywood units, but in my opinion, not having flyable fixed-wing aircraft is a good thing. You know, one thing that's actually mentioned in the Through the Gun Sights video is how they're going over so many resources, and that some of the challenges that they're actually facing is that, you know, some factories might design something differently, or if a private owner has their own vehicle who might upload images and references to the internet, might have modified it themselves. And obviously if it's something that might have seen combat, for instance, they could have been modified in the field, so it's not exactly the way that it is with the original model, for instance, right? Because I can't imagine it's easy just being able to get the blueprints of tanks or, you know, helicopters and whatnot. Because, alright, let's speak hypotheticals here, right? Let's say the T-80. It's a sexy looking tank, and it is a Soviet MBT that went into service in the late 70s. But it's like, okay, which T-80 do you want? There's different variants. Like, heaven forbid, right? Let's say you wanted to put the T-72 into the game, hypothetically, right? It's like, okay, do you want the South African one, the Czechoslovakian one, the Russian? Which T-72 do you want? And it's like, I can't tell the differences between them. You got like a Czechoslovakian T-72, and then you get like a Russian T-72. You put them side by side, I can't tell the difference. And, you know, I'm sure that there might be actual military buffs out there who will be able to be like, oh yeah, you know, I can tell the, you know, most minute details and whatnot. But, you know, another thing that is shown in the video is different variants of the UAZ. You know, you've got the canopy being up or canopy being down, and they say it can depend on the map. Whether we get a choice, now I'm not sure, or it's unclear if we'll actually get a choice to, you know, take the canopy down and have all the moving parts be shown to us, or if it's just like fixed and locked to a certain map. Now, I don't know the difference in map or when you want to have the canopy down or canopy up. I just don't, I lack the knowledge to understand when it would be appropriate to do either. But, you know, just to reiterate, everything that I said in this video is literally hypotheticals. Everything that I say should be taken with a grain of salt, literally. But, you know, if you are interested in 83 or just the Cold War in general, I do have playlists that are on screen where for 83 as well as After Conflict, which is also a really nice, you know, Cold War shooter that's going to be coming out in the near future. So do watch these videos and check them out, but I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.